This segment of the news is brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. About 500 compliant individuals are being monitored by the Royal Bahamas Police Force through the COVID-19 Hubcat Center at the Cable Beach Police Station. This coming from Police Commissioner Paul Rule this morning as he gave reporters a tour of the facility. Chief Superintendent Shivargo Dames, officer in charge of the Hubcat Center, says the facility has the responsibility of offloading those coming into the country into the Hubcat platform.
So once you enter into our airport, you will be greeted by one of our ambassadors at the airport who will take all of your information and input that information into our Hubcat system. From there, we will give you a period of time to get to your residence. And once you get to your residence, we will make a call to you, make sure that you are there, and so that we can put a geofence around your residence. That geofence enables us to ensure that you do not leave your residence, because if you are to breach that geofence, then you will be hearing from one of our ambassadors or one of our dispatchers here at the COVID Command Center.
So here's how it works. A geofence is around a particular residence. An alarm will go off at the command center, alerting officers if there is a breach. The next step is to call the individual or dispatch a vehicle to observe what's going on. Superintendent Dames added that officers at the command center are also responsible for ensuring that the public's adhering to health and safety protocols. That's ensuring that someone's wearing a mask and keeping a physical distance of 6 feet from others.
We also have a responsibility for ensuring that all of the public places that persons are adhering to the COVID-19 protocols, social distancing, and also wearing the masks. We also have responsibility for actually patrolling those hotspots, like the beaches and like those social areas, again, to make sure that persons are adhering to the social distancing and the wearing of masks. And so this command center has a vast responsibility to ensure that the persons, again, are adhering to the protocols, and so that we can all try to help keep our Bahamas safe.
Meantime, the Chief of Police spearheaded the distribution of personal protective equipment. Commissioner Roll, along with his officers, went into various communities this morning.
Wear your PPEs, wear your masks, and practice social distancing. That's the message that we wanted to do here this morning. And we came into this community, and it's hot, as you can see, and we kind of gave them a little water to wet your throat and to kind of keep you going. You know, there's a lot of little children, so we brought along some water bottles as well that they're able to use throughout the course of the day.
Although many were happy that the commissioner decided to visit their communities, people like 35-year-old Jermaine Hanfield says that it's just not enough during this time.
Well, I'm working through the lockdown, but we just barely surviving. We barely making it through here. You know what I mean? So we just hope they could do more. We hope the government could do more. Even with me not working, I was working 2 jobs and still couldn't collect from national insurance. So like everybody just need to pick up the slack right now, because the Bahamian people are
37-year-old Jcn Lopez, security officer at Columbus Primary, lives in a government complex and says that even though the tenants pay rent, the building is deteriorating and no one will hear them out.
We isn't the tenant that isn't paying. We are paying every month. I don't feel as though year by year I could have been getting sick in there. My children get sick. They had to live someplace else. I want my children here with me, and I'm assisting my mother, and only so much I could do. And there is deteriorating ticks, flies, waste in the light, what you're supposed to be getting light from. Stool, pee. Every time you use the toilet, it flushes down into the kitchen. How could we use the kitchen? You can't even go in there, sweetie. I wouldn't even allow you all to go in there. If you all go in there, different disease might come up.
Ms. Lopez stated that a fire occurred in the complex and that they've even been using a generator for power for over a year. She says that she has received no assistance from the government and that the masks and water from the commissioner is the first thing she has received, and she hopes that the government will hear her plea. Those 39 protesters are now out on bail, this coming from attorney Wayne Monroe, who's with a group of 22 lawyers planning on representing the protesters in court. Now the group's charged with unlawful assembly and failure to move in relation to that charge.
I had a meeting with the Commissioner of Police to have a discussion with him over a consideration of proceedings against the protesters. His expressed position was that the police clearly have no difficulty with people exercising their right to protest, but there's a process where you have to write in and get permission and give the details. But that didn't happen. And so I am of the view that after I speak with the protesters today and probably over tomorrow, I may be able to persuade the Commissioner of Police not to proceed with the charges.
The protesters' arraignment set for Thursday, August 27th. However, Mr. Monroe says the aims to have the charges dropped before then. He adds that he's of the view that protesters were not aware that permission was needed to gather and protest.
Let's say you can have 5 people protesting down Bay Street and there are a bunch of stores and someone decides to riot and loot. So the police have to make arrangements for your safety, for everything else. From my conversations with him, his greatest concern is that it is appreciated that they have no difficulties with protesting, even against them, even against the police. But there's a process for writing in for permission and giving them the details of what you intend to do, how many people you intend to bring, so that they can provide security for you and the area that you're protesting in or marching through. If I'm able to persuade him that there's an understanding, a grasp of that, he may be willing not to have the matter proceed.
According to police, one of the protesters damaged a police vehicle and as a result will also be charged with damage to government property. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.